And Village Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Today is May 17th, 2024. Welcome to East Hampton Village Board meeting. If we could just stand for a pledge, and then we'll get right into this.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So first up will be Hugh King.
Thank you. The Lispings of a Muse, the dramatic writing career of John Howard Payne. There's going to be a performance right in this building, in Studio 3, on June 9th. And it will be, there'll be a stage reading where the executive assistant to the mayor and the village attorney are seated. Right over there, Barbara Borsak will be singing Home Sweet Home, accompanied by her daughter, Amanda Jones. Where the mayor is sitting, Joe Brando, a librarian at the East Hampton Library, Martha Lee, an actress who married into the McKee family, and the village's own Marissa Kangelowski will be reading the love letters that passed between John Howard Payne and Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. Where the village administrator finally showed up is going to be...
Village administrator was stuck in terrific traffic right now, so my apologies.
No, I'm sorry. Where he is sitting, the two caregivers who help take care of my wife Loretta, Lenore Thomas and Colleen Curtin, will be reading the poetry of John Howard Payne. And at the end of the show, all you in the audience will end the show by singing Home Sweet Home. That's June 9th, 4 o'clock, right here. And now, since John Howard Payne wrote the words to Home Sweet Home, and there's no place like Home Sweet Home Museum, I'm going there now.
Thanks, Hugh. Next up is Ernie Vorpal. Talk about the Fire District Scholarship Program.
Originally, I was on the agenda, but my president made a surprise visit, so I'll let her.
Oh, great. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, I'm Anne-Marie Zolnicki, Ernie Vorpal of the East End Financial Group.
I think we just got to, it's hard to hear you.
Okay. We are here to
Can we raise that,
present.
Ernie? Can you raise that?
Yeah, there you go.
Good job.
Thanks.
I am Anne-Marie Zolnicki, Ernie Vorpal of the East End Financial Group, and we work with a lot of LoSAPs on the island, which are fire department type of retirement plans. Currently, we're working with 24 LoSAPs, and we have a college scholarship program, and 17 of those fire departments have submitted applications to us, and we issue scholarships to districts all over the island. I'm happy to report they're kind of ranked in order by our advisory board. The top 2 scholarships were given to 2 Town of East Hampton students, one from the Montauk Fire District and one from the East Hampton Fire District.
Oh, that's
Nicholas
nice.
Cooper, who I'd like to bring up with his father, Peter. So Nicholas, Ernie, and I, on behalf of the East End Financial Group, are very honored to present this scholarship to you. Your academics, your accomplishments are amazing. I know you're going to do great things at Rice. So congratulations. We're very happy to give this to you. Thank you very much. Good job, Dad. Get the microphone out of the way.
Thank you very much. Is Sarah from the Friends of Georgia. Welcome. How are you?
Here's where we go. Great.
I'm very well, Mayor. Good to see you and members of the town board. Thanks so much for having me here today. I thought it'd be an opportunity to review some of the work at Friends of Georgia Capon Foundation and update you on some of our new initiatives. Can you see the slideshow?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to lower the lights a little bit? Wait. Okay. All right, so Georgia Pond, oh, that's so much better. Thank you so much. Georgia Pond is part of an area in East Hampton Village which is known as a statewide scenic significance. As such, it is a critical natural feature in the village, which is so important to protect. And that's what the Friends of Georgia Pond is all about. It's a 290-acre brackish pond. And next slide, please. It is part of a very large watershed. That's a 4,000-acre watershed, the green boundary. And the pond is only about 290 acres. So all of that watershed drains into Georgia Pond, and you can see the airport to the north and the abandoned sand pit just south of the airport, and then all those orange dots are houses, which are contributing to nitrogen in the groundwater, which is flowing into Georgia Pond. Now, the village only has about 16% of the watershed, but most importantly, 68% of the shoreline of the pond is within the village. And so that is a very sensitive and critical area where land meets water. And so the village has a very steep responsibility to be protecting that shoreline with their setbacks that you have on the books, which are excellent, and educating landowners about the use of fertilizer and pesticide, and of course buying any vacant land that's left, which is very, very scarce. The future of Georgia Pond lies in its watershed. Next slide. So here's a close-up of what landowners can do to restore the shoreline. An example of where Phragmites was removed in 2016 on the left, and the very next year planted with native grasses and sedges and rushes. And this has just continued to improve over the years, so we'd like to thank the village for having such a good setback law and for encouraging property owners to continue to do this. Next slide. So as we all know, there have been some major impairments to the water at Georgia Pond. It was in 2012 when a Jack Russell Terrier died from ingesting pond water from the blue-green algae toxin called microcystin. Today, the water quality is much improved thanks to the founding of Friends of Georgia Pond and the cooperation of the village and the town trustees. So in 2015, we launched the telemetry buoy, which monitors water quality parameters that you see on the right. And so we're able to know if there's a change in the conditions and to take action to address them. But some of the most key issues, as you know, well, temperature is becoming very important with climate change. The pond water is getting hotter and hotter every season. Salinity changes at the pond because of the opening and closing of the gut. Dissolved oxygen is key to life. Blue-green algae is really, these harmful algal blooms are what we're after. But fecal bacteria, you'll hear about a little more. And of course, nitrogen and phosphorus. And now we have new threats from PFAS contamination. Next slide. This is the USGS, United States Geological Survey, pond gauge, which is the village is sponsoring with the Friends of Georgia Pond Foundation, sponsoring meaning paying for. And it's a very important tool to know how high the pond level is because it's always changing. And this reading, again, it's solar powered. It runs 24 hours, 24/7. And I can tell you right now the pond levels are very high thanks to all this rain we've had. But thank you, village, for helping keep this gauge going. Next slide. During the winter, the East Hampton Town trustees dredged the mouth of the pond to remove a lot of the sand that is overwashed during the year. And that sand is redeployed on village and town beaches within the littoral drift zone. And that's a 10-year permit that will expire on 2028, so we'll need the village's support again to renew that permit at that time. Thank you. Next slide. There's also a management plan that we have that summarizes the status of the pond and what needs to be done. It was approved back in 2021 by the trustees, and it's important for compliance with the dredging, and we'll need to update that very soon also with input from the village. Next slide. This is the aquatic weed harvester that has been used as a management tool to address the symptom of high nitrogen in the water. The nitrogen that's entering the pond is also not only triggering microorganisms such as the blue-green algae, but it's triggering macroalgae and pondweed, immense growth in the pond, and by removing that biomass and taking it to the dump for composting, we're removing nitrogen. And you can see the total harvested to date since it's been in the works is 330,000 pounds, which is a lot of biomass. Now, I know you want to put this on town pond, but I think it's a little too big. But it's very effective, and it's helping to keep the nitrogen levels lower at the pond, and I thank the board again and for allowing us to unload at the end of Cove Hollow, and that's where this is right at this moment. Next slide. As part of the harvesting permit, the DEC requires us to monitor the impacts of that harvesting before and after the season. And so these are students from Stony Brook University who do point samples all around the pond to measure the pondweed. That's the slide on the left. A student is withdrawing pondweed from the bottom to measure its density. And then on the right, the pondweed has to be spread out every 2 weeks in the summer, and every fish and crustacean and crab that's found in it is counted, and that's what's called bycatch. That's the inadvertent catch in the pondweed. And so we can tell if there's, over the years, if there's been any impact of this harvesting, and I'm pleased to say that all the trends are very positive, that the pondweed, unfortunately, grows right back and the organisms recolonize. Next slide. So I talked about nitrogen at the beginning, and I'm going to keep talking about it now. On the right, you see Dr. Gobler's hybrid nitrogen model, which shows about 50% of the nitrogen entering the pond is coming from septic systems. And that model's been tweaked, and the village has done their own work. And that number, it's either 51%, 50, but it bears out through various testing. And it just shows you how important our wastewater is to be addressed to combat so much nitrogen entering our water bodies. And on the slide on the left, you see what's called the Water Protection District for Georgia Pond, which is really correlates to the 10-year travel time. That is, anything that happens in that blue zone is within Georgia Pond within 10 years. So you see, it's a lot more than just pond-front homeowners. There's a broad region. Many people live in that 10-year travel time, and all of those septic systems are contributing to deterioration of the water quality. And anyone who lives in that 10-year travel time is eligible for up to $40,000 in funding incentives to upgrade their septic systems. And of course, with the village working on its sewer program, that will help a lot with reducing nitrogen in the groundwater. Next slide. So this is so important to get more homeowners to upgrade their septic systems that the Peconic Land Trust and the Center for Clean Water Technology at Stony Brook has hired this fellow, Tom Varley, who is the watershed manager for Georgia Pond and Sagaponack Pond. And he is available free of charge to help homeowners upgrade their septic systems, help them with the applications, the grants, and the engineering and the permits. And on the right, you can see, once it's all done, you've seen these all over the village now. People are putting them in, these green discs which cover the tank, and they can be removed, and the water can be sampled and verified that they're working and nitrogen is being reduced. So please, if you live in that blue zone, avail yourself of Tom Varley and upgrade your septic system. Next slide. Another big area where we've been collaborating with the village, and the village's role has been so important, is on stormwater runoff remediation. And these are the two key areas. The picture on the left is the Cove Hollow pipe, which I know you're very familiar with. You just approved and neg-decked the project, and I want to thank my colleague Billy Hayjack for working so hard on this project. But that pipe travels all the way from 114 down to Georgia Pond, carrying with it that sediment-laden water. And in that water are solvents and gasoline, but lots of bacteria. And this is one of the few public accesses to Georgia Pond, and you don't want to have high bacteria counts where people are using and recreating. And I want to give a shout out to the Surfrider Foundation, who's been measuring the bacteria here and at the next site that I'll talk about for many, many years now. And we know that this is a problem, and now thanks to planning grants from the CPF program, we have an engineered solution which will involve bioswales, which you're all very familiar with now, to slow this water down, intercept the sediments and the contaminants, and you have a much reduced source of bacteria. On the right is the rest stop on Route 27, very near the village, which is also a public access to Georgia Pond, also monitored by Surfrider, and also very high in bacteria. And like the Cove Hollow site, there is an engineered plan now funded by Friends and the county and the towns and the CPF program to do some engineering and bioswales here to address the same problem. And I'm very pleased to say, after working on these for many years, we're ready to start getting permits. We're getting permits and hopefully start bidding this year. So thank you, Village, for your help on this. Next. Another thing we're doing at Georgia Pond is just an experiment. We all know about the filtering capacity of oysters. They're referred to as nature's engineer. And a team from the Gobler Lab at Stony Brook have been first establishing that oysters can thrive in Georgia Pond, which they can, and monitoring them and measuring them, measuring their growth, which is very positive. And on the right is a picture of a micro experimental oyster reef. You can see the village in the background. And that, the question now for this year is, once the larvae are released in the pond, can they survive, and can the micro reefs be scaled up enough to really have an impact on water quality in the pond? So that's an ongoing project that's we're very interested in. Next slide. And the last new project for this year, which I wanted to bring you up to date on, is a lab experiment in the Gobler Lab, which will be sampling some of the sediment in Georgia Cove and treating it in the laboratory with a photocatalytic process, which is a way to decompose the organic matter in the sediment in the lab. And if you look at Georgia Cove, the dark browns are the finest muds, and the depths are in the letters in white. And you can see in Georgia Cove, and those are in meters. So in Georgia Cove, you've got 1.4 meters of mud there. That's a lot of mud. And dredging is not really feasible there. So we're hopeful in a few years, if the lab experiments are positive, which they have been in other ponds, that this could be approved by the DEC as a way to using bacteria and this chemical titanium dioxide, which is a normal non-toxic chemical. It's all in your sunblock and whatnot, to decompose some of that organic sediments to reduce some of that, that mud. So on balance, I just want to, that's the last slide, I want to just thank you for your cooperation and implore you to protect our incredible natural resources. It's a small village, but you have this wonderful pond, you have Hook Pond, and you have the ocean, and these are what give people a sense of awe and joy, and this is why we come here, and it's very, very important to protect them. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody have questions?
Awesome.
I don't have a question. I just have to say, thank you for all your hard work. And the Friends of Georgia have been a terrific partner with the village. And I can't thank you enough for all your hard work, Sarah, because I know you work so hard on this. And, thanks to Friends of Georgia, our community is so far ahead of other communities on Long Island who suffer through the same pond issues. So thank you for all that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Sarah.
have one question. Thank you so much for doing all this work. You gave the area of the people that have the incentive to switch their septic over.
For the highest incentive.
Right. So out of the number of people that are there, how many people have switched over?
Well, that area is about 280 homes, and we're about 50. So we're making headway, but it's slow, and it's home by home, and each site is different, and
Is there a reason why people don't want to do it?
I think it's inertia, and I think it's a little, you have to fill out paperwork. That's why Tom is so important to help people. I think people have other things on their minds.
But if everybody did it, it would reduce 50% of the waste in the pond?
Could you
You said
repeat
it's,
that?
the water from people's septic systems is 50% of the
Nitrogen.
nitrogen. So if
Yeah.
everybody did it, it would help
It would be a very, I think the calculation is in that 10-year travel time, if those were all upgraded, there'd be 60-some% remediation of nitrogen. So it's very important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our village administrator about the 2025 budget.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jason, oh, good. So as you can see, I'm not going to bore anybody. We're lowering taxes again for the third year in a row. We've been working incredibly hard over the last few months. I appreciate the board's help on this as the respective liaisons to your departments. And I appreciate, of course, all of the department heads that help me and Dominique, I should say, every February and March and April, really putting it together. So thank you very much. A special mention goes to, I have to say, David Collins, who arguably has the toughest budget in all the village. If you can see it, it's part of his budget. So I thank Dave for all of his help. But if I can go through some of the highlights, if you want to call them that. Police retirement's going up 17%. Employee retirement is going up another 20%. Medical insurance is going up 12%. And despite kind of a conservative outlook that we always, put forth, we're raising revenues by an estimated $1.4 million, which is very good, and keeping taxes low again. So that's my show.
All right, great. Any questions, board?
No. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Marcos, and congratulations to Dominique and your team
Yeah.
for doing a great job. Thank
Dominique
you.
is fantastic, and I have to tell you, I've got no better partner than her in all of this. And she always seems to book her vacations during this presentation, so it's usually myself, but I know she's hopping on a flight right now, but I want to thank her right now, wherever she is. So,
All right, thanks. So let's do a roll call.
Okay, Mayor Jerry Larson,
Here?
Deputy Mayor Chris Minardi,
Here.
Trustee Sandra Melendez has an excused absence, Trustee Carrie Doyle,
Here.
Trustee Sarah Amadin,
Here.
Administrator Marcos Valadrone,
present.
Village Attorney Lisa Perillo. Here.
All right, thanks. So we're going to get right into the public hearing that most of you are probably here for. So if we could read that, and then we'll open it up to public comment.
Introductory number 13 of 2024, a proposed local law amending Chapter 176, Historic Areas Preservation of.
All right, so just to give a little background so everybody's on the same page, we introduced a law last month to try to get a closing time for restaurants in the historic district. And this came about because we realized that right now there's no law on the books at all that regulate closing times for anything in the historic district. So right now, a restaurant, if they chose to, could just stay open 24/7. So realizing that is not in the best interest of quality of life for the residents who live in most of these, in the historic district where most of these non-conforming uses are, we decided to put a law into place. So at the last hearing, it was a 10 o'clock closing. which means that like the last call would be somewhere around 9. So we heard a lot of input from residents and Guildhall and nonprofits, and we took all that into consideration, and we now are presenting a new law, which would be an 11 o'clock closing out of the building by 11:30. So that's what we're here to talk about today. I would love to hear people's input. If we need to tweak it more, we certainly will. But, who would like to speak?
Can I just add one thing about the law? Just make it clear that we still have a noise ordinance in our village at 11 o'clock. So it's not to encourage, we hope that the business owners will respect that it doesn't mean everybody comes flooding out for a half hour between 11 and 11:30, make a lot of noise. We still have, and we will be vigilant about enforcing that. So that's part of this.
Thank you. First speaker? Anybody? Just raise your hand if you would like to speak. Come on up. Thank you. And we're going to limit it to 3 minutes. And just state your name for the record so that our...
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I'm Joan McGivern from Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Quadraro. Moving mic, okay. Representing the Hedges Inn in St. Luke's. First and foremost, we wish to underscore our prior critique that it is well established that New York State's Alcohol Beverage Control Act preempts all regulations of operating hours for businesses that sell alcohol. As such, any attempt to regulate those hours is illegal by the village. With respect to attempting to regulate late-night restaurant clubs, the proposal is defectively drafted. Perhaps most importantly, it is unclear that regulating such clubs has any nexus to the 4 elements or goals of the stated purposes of Chapter 176 regarding historic preservation. The Historic Preservation Ordinance wasn't intended to regulate uses in historic inns and is not a legitimate vehicle legislatively or practically for such a regulation. As for the revised version of Local Law 13/2024, we thank the board for excluding houses of worship from the definition of eating and drinking establishments. However, by leaving in any organization or club, not-for-profits, such as the East Hampton Historical Society and Guildhall, are still at risk. And so too are traditional New Year's Eve parties, which by definition extend past 11:30, and there are no exceptions for that presently. We also thank the board for excluding room service for overnight guests at inns, but legislatively speaking, it remains problematic. For example, inns such as the Hedges are deemed eating and drinking establishments, yet they are prohibited from remaining open for business after 11:30, but irreconcilably may remain open for room service. Another point that is also unclear is when an inn can resume business after 11:30 p.m. Finally, with respect to the proposed penalties for offenses, which include imprisonment for up to 15 days, there are no due process provisions whatsoever. And unlike elsewhere in the code, which requires that one be convicted first before imposing penalties, someone has more due process rights when facing a noise violation or for planting bamboo than staying open late, the way the law is presently drafted. In conclusion, these laws are clearly not well written and unconstitutionally vague. In sum, as drafted, we urge that both sets of amendments to Chapter 176 be rejected and not be enacted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify something already? As I understood it, that the law is not addressing the alcohol sale, it's addressing the sale of food and soft drink beverages?
That's correct. Alcohol is preempted by state law.
Right, and then it's also in a restaurant setting?
It's only in restaurant settings and as defined in the code.
So that would not include room service?
Room service was never included, but now it's specifically excluded.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Martha Reichert. I am also from the law firm of Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Quadraro, 33 West 2nd Street, Riverhead, New York. I'm here on behalf of our client, the Hunting Inn, and I want to thank the board specifically for some of the revisions that were made in response to our comments at the last public hearing to Local Law 13. I share in Ms. McGivern's comments with respect to there are certain issues with the way the law is still drafted that I think could be remedied through the use of more consistent terms, definitions for certain aspects, and I'll give a couple of examples. One of the things is that in the definition of an eating establishment, it includes parts of a restaurant that are commonly thought of as the back of the house, where food is stored, where food is prepared. And because open for business covers those elements of an establishment, it's unclear to me whether or not the kitchen staff can clean. Can they throw out their garbage? Can they bake early? And so I'd like to see perhaps better parameters so that it can be understood in terms of when service is no longer supposed to be taking place at 11:30, does that also preclude restaurant staff from cleaning up and handling everything? I think that sort of creates a logistical impossibility or impracticality for inn staff and hotel staff or restaurant staff to comply with the law without fear of perhaps being subject to the penalties. And in the case of the penalties here, they are quite harsh. And so that I would recommend that the penalty section be revised to include that important language of upon conviction and to provide a certain amount of due process, such as what you see in Chapter 255 with regards to, nuisance abatement and property management, right? And so again, I think that it comes back to the idea that if this law is going to go forward, that the best crafted and drafted legislation is the one that can be easily understood by those who are complying with it and also those who are enforcing it. Finally, I would request that if the board deems it to go back to making certain revisions, that there be an exception for New Year's Eve and a process where an eating establishment in the historic district can apply for, perhaps an exception to this in the event of, a certain special event or some other holiday where festivities may need to carry on a little bit later. So I think that that's important in any law to create the flexibility so that certain events can be viewed on a case-by-case basis. And let me just quickly review my notes.
That's time right there.
Could I have about
Yeah.
10 more seconds just to finish my
go
final
ahead.
thought? I appreciate the exclusion of room service, but I also would like to, again, just have better definitions about the parts of an inn that fall under this, because again, if you walk into the hotel and it's 11:45 and you go to the front desk and you say, may I have a bottle of water, counters are defined currently in that section as being part of an eating establishment. So I just want to, understand that can you have a self-service water? Can you have snacks for hotel guests? So perhaps some definitions about open for business, the difference between an in guest and an outside patron, and to just create, again, something that works for everyone.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, village trustees. My name is Jane Meering. I'm a full-time resident of East Hampton. I'm here today solely in my responsibility as the vice chair of the Landmarks Committee of the Ladies Village Improvement Society. We submitted some written comments to the record this week related to the April 19th hearing, continuing today, but we wanted to come and represent these comments to you directly. So I'm going to read from the letter, if I may.
Thank you.
On behalf of the LVIS, Landmarks Committee, our standing in this matter is clear. The LVIS has led East Hampton Village in the protection and preservation of its historic houses and properties for over 100 years, and our work has been foundational to the establishment of the 3 village historic districts, including the Main Street Historic District in 1986, of which multiple historic inns and boarding houses are a prominent and integral part. In particular, the mandate and mission of the Landmarks Committee is to promote and maintain our heritage by supporting historic preservation efforts and protection of village landmarks and historic districts. These historic inns are not only very important contributing assets are not only contributing assets to the district, but they are clearly established and valued as some of the most recognizable and cherished landmarks in the heart of the village. In the past few weeks, we, along with the public, learned that there are at least one, if not several, proposals to lease or purchase historically designated inns within the Village Historic District in order to privatize and convert them into exclusive private members-only club use, thereby extinguishing the longstanding 100-plus years of use of these as inns that have been open to the public. We want to make clear we are not focusing on any entity or any particular potential application that might come before the village, but we support the village board's initiative to establish lawful regulation and code amendments that will strengthen and create the protection of these important individual historic assets, preserve public access to them, and to protect the character and integrity of the overall historic districts, as well as the peaceful enjoyment of other properties within the residential zones in which these inns are located. In particular, as are many residents, the LVS Landmarks Committee is concerned about the following factors: the conversion of any historic inn into a private club use operating with the potential intensity and extended late-night hours will be an expansion, extension, and intensification of historic inns' pre-existing non-conforming use in a residential zone, and that is prohibited per Section 278B2 of the Village Code. And second, conversion of this type of use will add traffic noise, commotion that will disturb residential residents, degrade quality of life, and undermine neighbors' legal rights to peaceful enjoyment of their properties. I'm just going to wrap up, if I can just take 20 extra seconds. As such, we are supportive of the Village Board of Trustees' potential actions, including amendments to Chapter 278, Attachment 1 of the East Hampton Village Code, Table of Permitted Uses in Zoning Districts, to make clear that private membership, late-night, after-hours clubs, and similar establishments could be prohibited uses in the residential zones, and where necessary, to strengthen your special permit regulations. And second, if and where possible, establish hours of operations that will adequately restrict activity that would cause disturbance and disruption to surrounding residential areas, but not create unnecessary or burdensome restriction for existing restaurants that provide, and inns providing regular services, and to any cultural or community establishments or organizations. So we thank you for your attention to this matter, and we'll be continuing to track the developments.
Thank you very much. Next speaker? Anyone? Mr. Lipper?
Good morning. I want to thank you all for your efforts to preserve the village. I'm a resident on Hook Pond Lane, directly around the corner from Hedges. And I would like to just read, there's something in the law that says, res ipsa loquitur, the words speak for themselves. Zero bond is described in the latest Vanity Fair article by the owner, Scott Sartiano. It takes me back to the late 90s when people could do whatever they want. And that is what John Cummings is proposing to bring to the village. And I applaud you for ameliorating the effects and telling them you could maybe do whatever you want, but not whenever you want. And I urge you to consider moving the closing time to 11 in consistent execution with our noise laws. Because if you make the last drinks at, say, 10 or 10:30, and they have to leave at 11, that is a very noisy crowd by definition, as they describe themselves in the Vanity Fair article. And I think we should make it consistent with the noise laws and not undermine the historical district by changing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and the Board of Trustees. I'm Juan Ocampo. I'm a resident of the village of East Hampton for the past 10 years and of the town for the prior quarter century before that. I strongly support your efforts on this legislation. Like my neighbor, Mr. Lipper, I also recommend that as you redraft, and there have been numerous good ideas here of a practical nature in terms of redrafting suggestions, that it foot so that the termination of the patron use also sync with the noise ordinance at 11 o'clock. with respect to what goes on inside an establishment of the back office and so forth, that can be done in a way that works for them so that they actually, patrons can leave at 11, enjoy it and so forth, but 11 is hard stop. I think that fits well with the rest of the ordinances that we have. And I thank you for your efforts here. I strongly support the ongoing legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, anyone?
Hi, good morning. I'm Robert Birch. This is my 50th year, I think, at the Village, and my family owns a house on Jeffries Lane. That's all right. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm very much in favor of the legislation. Thank you for taking the initiative on this. I think we all know that the proximate cause while we're here is the stories of the Hedges Inn being leased to zero bond. I think the issue is broader than that. I've also heard rumors of the Soho House Club interested in the Maidstone Hotel, maybe even putting a disco in the basement there. I think the owner of the Hunting Inn, I think, also owns the Golden Nugget Casinos, and they're trying to make alterations to that building or that property. None of this is good and appropriate for the Village, let alone the historic district of the Village. You can easily see how the historic inns are under threat here. Zero bond at the Hedges, Soho House Club at the Maidstone Hotel. You know, after that, the other sort of members-only exclusive clubs that double as nightclubs will take over the other inns. And we won't have any historic inns anymore. We'll have a series of private members clubs / nightclubs in the Village, in a residential district, and in the historic district within the residential district, which would be a disaster. It would not be open to the general public. It would be open to celebrities and everything that brings. Their entourages, the hangers-on, the fleets of black Suburbans and Escalades, the crowds of paparazzi. This would be a disaster and totally inappropriate for the historic village of the district. So I think we should absolutely take action to discourage this kind of change in historic character and historic nature of the village. In regards to the hours, I agree with the previous two speakers. I'm very concerned that any time that's later than 11:30 is going to create confusion and conflict with the existing noise ordinances. East Hampton Village's noise ordinances are already more permissive than the town's when it comes to hours. The Village's stricter noise ordinance kicks in at 11 p.m., so I think that's a logical and well-established precedent to end all commercial operations within the residential district. 11:30 seems quite late to me for a residential district where people are trying to enjoy their right to the quiet and peaceable enjoyment of their property, which is, I believe, guaranteed under New York state law. So I would encourage a earlier time, whether it's the 10 p.m. time, which is already a precedent from the 1981 Zoning Board of Appeals. 10 more seconds. 10 p.m. is a precedent under the 1981 ZBA determination about the Hedges Inn, or maybe it's 10:30 to give people 30 minutes to vacate. But I think under no circumstance should we go beyond 11 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh,
Hey, Mark. How you
she's,
doing?
okay.
For the record, that's my uncle.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Butler, and I have been a resident in East Hampton for many years. My family started coming out in the 30s, so I've seen a lot of change. All change, as you know, is not particularly welcome or good. But I'm very supportive of the legislation, but I don't want to talk about the legislation just now. As a former member of the Village Planning Board for 5 years and its chairman for 2. I spent a lot of time when we were considering the character and the integrity of this character in the village and in this historic district. You know, I hear, you know, what the board then heard a lot from was Bob Hefner about the history. So what I'd like to do is just give you an idea of what the history, and most of this is from Bob Hefner, who knows a lot more about history than I do about this village. You know, there were Indians in wigwams as late as 1740 on the west side of Hook Pond. And back of them were Indian cornfields. So what we're talking, and then we're talking about a village that started right around the pond and then was moved down to where it is now. There's a lot of history here about how wonderful a place this is. And Bob Hefner certainly educated us as to what it really means to live here and why we think this village is so special. And so while we're here debating whether or not it's constitutional, and I'm a lawyer, so I appreciate intellectually the challenge of crafting legislation that's constitutionally appropriate. But I'd also like to have people thinking at the same time that, you know, just what makes this place special, what makes this historic district historic, and what that means to all of us. So I would like to commend you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Balladrone, and all of the board for their efforts, and I totally support those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi, I'm Amy Kerwin, the Chief Creative Officer at Guildhall. I just have a question regarding special permits for events, which I think may have been discussed with you previously. For us, we have our once-a-year gala, which will go potentially a little later this year indoors, and I think that applies with a permit. But what is the max amount of permits you can get per year for a special event like a New Year's Eve fundraiser? There must be a max. I'm just curious what that is.
I'm going to defer to our lawyer.
I don't know that the code has any maximum amount.
Yeah,
we don't.
I was going to say that, but I wouldn't misspeak, but I don't think we have any maximum number of special event permits.
But the special event permit.
We have tent permit
Right.
max, we have yard sale max, but not special events.
And the special event permit would be an exception to this?
Administratively, we have like a 10 event max, let's say, for businesses at the downtown and things like that. But for 501c3s, as of right now, we don't have any.
Well, we won't go crazy.
Yeah.
But and then for those special event permits, this time there's an exception for the end time?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Pat Handel. I live at 66 James Lane. I am the next door neighbor to the Hedges Inn. For the past 20-plus years, Essex and Angel has represented us to keep back the stealth expansion that we've seen, not only at the Hedges Inn, but also in the village. I just am here standing before you today to thank you, the village, for finally taking up this issue. We live in a wonderful village. We live in a residential historic area, and we hope that you keep us in that frame. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, Mr. Mayor and Board, and I want to thank you for your efforts. I preferred the idea of the 10 p.m. cutoff, but I just hope that you will go forward with this legislation and protect the residents. I've been here 64 years.
Can we just get your name for the record?
Cynthia Crawford.
Great.
And I wrote a letter, too.
Great.
And I liked very much the remarks of Bob Birch and LVIS. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to first of all thank, my name is Leyland Kenyon, and I'm a resident of East Hampton. I have been a resident for 60 years. I'm a third generation owner of my property, and I do live on Maidstone Lane. I do want to thank Mr. Mayor and the Board of Trustees for enacting this legislation, and I am 100% in support of any type of regular closing. Our town is so special, and as a case in point, I grew up in a ski resort, and we compare ourselves to Aspen, but my town put legislation in place very early to stop the late night discos, nightclubs, big parties, and it has kept our ski resort incredibly profitable, but also a nice place for residents to live. And there are always going to be exceptions to a rule, i.e. A New Year's Eve party, which I think any of the residents would be okay with on a one-off basis. But as a week-by-week, day-by-day situation to have these late-night clubs, wherever they may be, in our historic district, I think takes away from the beauty and the tranquility of the town that we all have built and that you all are charged with keeping. So thank you for your work, and I hope that it continues.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
There seems to be a lot of New Year's Eve parties that I'm seeing around. I don't think there's one
Mayor,
that happens.
folks.
Good morning.
My name is Steve Lutzen. I'm a lawyer. Don't hold that against me. And I guess I live in the Springs, so in effect, I have a half a stake in this, if you will. But it seems to me, I guess there's something called the smell test, but I guess this is sort of the sight test. And it seems to me, and I'm using the word sight, S-I-T-E and S-I-G-H-T. In other words, the sight of people partying, we all know what's going to happen. And I guess I'm feeling old. I remember the good old days of, what was that place next to the fireplace, and we could disco and it was fun, but it's ratcheted up. And the idea that you have a bunch of people coming in who are of means, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you're taking it to another level. And as an analogy, I remember the days, I've been coming out here for over 50 years, and I've owned my house since '86. And I remember the days when there was that lovely couple that had that place where Ralph Lauren's store is today, and you can get your newspaper. You know, I know times change, but we have a kind of branding that's going on in East Hampton, which is understandable because there's a profit motive, and I understand that. But I think there has to reach a point where you, in effect, have to put your foot down. And in a sense, that's what you're doing. But this isn't onerous. The fact that someone has to go home early, you know, it doesn't kill the deal. It may harm the deal. So all in all, I guess I'm saying I support what you're doing. I'd like it to be constitutional. But other than that, I think it's just unfortunate that people will, I think, be abusive. And I think that's dangerous. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, they don't have to go home. They just can't stay there.
For the New Year's Eve party. Yeah.
All right, anyone else? I can't hear you.
Something else
Other than something else on this hearing.
Oh, no, this is just on this hearing. We'll have public comment later. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the board? All right, I just have a question. Does the board, I agree with what was said here today. I think we make it a hard stop at 11. Do we all agree?
Yes. Is it a hard stop at 11 and then 11:30, or?
No, hard stop at 11.
Stop at 11.
The establishment will have to figure out if they're going to make it a 10:45 last call or 10:30 last. It's up to them, but
I agree. I think it should be 11.
Yep.
I kind of like 10, but I could live with 11.
well, we went through the 10 at the last public hearing, and again, we want to try to make this as reasonable and as we can to upstand any challenges that we may face So I think listening to what the public gave us, and we've adjusted the law to what everyone spoke about at the last hearing, and I think it sets us up in a better position for our attorney, should we be challenged.
So when are you saying, so last call would be when? When would they stop?
It's up to them. I'm just saying, establishment closed at 11 o'clock. It's up to the establishment when they want to, I guess it depends on the establishment. You know, if you're waiting for a steak, it might take a little longer as opposed to a burger. It's not for us to make those business decisions. It's 11 o'clock closing.
Doors closed.
Right. Lisa, can we tweak that and close the hearing?
So you'll just take out the provision in the law
Take
that
out the
talks about the
11:30?
11:30
And just
service.
back it to 11?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the hearing's closed. Later on in our resolutions, we will be voting on this today. And you're certainly welcome to stay, or you can leave, or you can stay for the rest of the other hearings. But I think we're in good shape. So, all right, that hearing's closed, so we'll go on to, can we read introductory number 14?
Introductory number 14 of 2024, a proposed local law amending Chapter 176, Historic Areas, Section 17611, Late Night Restaurant Club Legislation.
Anyone like to be heard on this? Could you give a summary,
Oh, sure.
Lisa?
Or Lorraine?
Section 17611, late-night restaurant clubs are prohibited in the historic districts. For purposes of this section, a late-night restaurant club is defined as a membership or subscription-based social, dining, and beverage venue, establishment, or association whose membership pays for said membership by dues, subscription, donation, or a membership fee. And B, which operates under the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. A late-night restaurant club may include any restaurant, nightclub, cabaret, tavern, bar, cafe, hotel, motel, inn, supper club, or social club, or any other facility, venue, accommodation, or establishment that is owned, leased, licensed, managed, or otherwise operated in whole or in part as a late-night restaurant club and whose facilities, use of space, meals, beverages, or services are limited or reserved in whole or in part to the late-night restaurant club.
Does anyone comment on this?
Joe McGivern for Toomey Latham. My previous comments also relate to this legislation, and I won't repeat them, but I'd like to go on record that my comments apply.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're going to leave. Robert?
Yeah, so I'm not a lawyer, but just a basic principle, late-night clubs in a residential area are a terrible idea.
Right.
So regardless of the sort of technicalities of how the law is drafted about state law versus local ordinances and which supersedes the other and so forth, I'll leave that to the village attorney and legal counsel to sort out the drafting. But it seems to me that it's basically obvious that a local government should have the power to regulate commercial, non-conforming commercial properties in a residential district, right? For the peace, safety, quiet enjoyment of the residents of that district. So, yes, I think this legislation makes a lot of sense. I'm strongly in favor of it. And I hope that the detailed drafting gets worked out in a way where it survives any legal challenge that may happen. And thank you again for taking the initiative on this.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Anyone else? All right, we're going to leave this hearing open for another month. So we're going to move on to introductory number 15.
Introductory number 15 of 2024, a proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C.
Any comments? Board? Can I get a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that hearing is closed. Next hearing?
Introductory number 16 of 2024, a proposed local law amending the code of the Village of East Hampton, Chapter 192, moratorium on tennis court and pickleball court conversions with an extension of 6 months.
Hey, Billy, could you just fill us in why we need another 6 months?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Billy Hajak for the Village of East Hampton. So additional time is required to formulate regulations concerning the conversion of existing tennis courts into new pickleball courts. The board's aware we adopted legislation governing the construction of new pickleball courts and new tennis courts. This is basically solely on conversions. So, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're just having some issues figuring out
Yeah, engaging a
an
consultant.
engineer or
Yeah,
something to give us the right,
It's basically a sound engineer is
yeah,
is
the right
issue.
information. So,
Yes.
so basically, we have codes in place that regulate new construction of tennis courts and pickleball courts. This would only relate to existing tennis courts that people want to convert to pickleball courts because the setbacks may not be enough to
Correct.
not
Yep.
bother the neighbors.
Correct.
Correct.
And they could be non-conforming, the tennis courts could be non-conforming to the, even today's regulations in terms of setbacks.
Right.
Which could even amplify the problem even
Okay.
more. Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we'll kind of get a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All right, that hearing is closed. All right, now we have public comment for any other issue? Or compliments, whatever.
Thank you so much. Sorry for disrupting earlier. I haven't been to a meeting before. My name's Jenna Van Asco. I'm an East Hampton resident, and this is Alex. She's an East Hampton resident as well, and she owns The Little. I'm a mother, as you can tell by now, I'm sure. And I became a mother in 2020 when it was a very isolating time, and my kids were home solely with me and my husband for the majority of the year. And Alex and I and a group of mothers have some concerns about the playground at Herrick Park, and we just wanted to bring those to you because we've heard that this administration is very open to input from the public, and we're so grateful for that. And so essentially, we're excited about all the construction happening, and we just really want to plead and request that the swing sets become a priority again, and bringing the 6 baby swings back along with the 6 bigger kid swings. Because what I've realized through this whole process of talking to mothers and figuring out, what do we need as a community, the swing sets are incredibly important. And what I've learned is that not only is it a place for mothers to gather and connect with one another and for their kids to do the same, but it's also it's an important place for children with neuro deficiencies, and swing sets are very important for their sensory input needs. And because of this, I've been able to put together a petition just requesting some transparency around the playground and what the plans are, a request to bring back the swing sets for our kids. When I go with my family, we take up the 2 baby swings that are remaining. And so I have the petition printed out for all of you. I have over 100 signatures, and it was with very little effort of my own. It just kind of happened. And additionally, what I've learned, which I think you would find interesting and concerning, is that families, since the swings have been removed, are going to Sag Harbor and Montauk, and unfortunately, when they're hanging out in other towns, they're also spending their money there. They're shopping at Budaberry and not at the Sweet Spot. They're shopping at Stella and Ruby and not at The Little. So I think it's kind of impacting the economy in a way that maybe hasn't been thought about. And essentially, I think the mothers all just want to know some next steps. What is the vision for the playground? And if there's a way that we can...
I can take that petition.
Here, I have
Yeah.
6 copies
Thank you very much.
I think I think you have such an amazing opportunity to make an incredible, inclusive, fun gathering space for families and kids, and all of that spills over into the village. Whenever we're in the village, we go shopping and we eat out. And yeah, so this is just kind of my little initiative that I've been putting together and just learning from other moms too.
Well, boy, sorry, I do have an update for the board in relation to this, if that's okay.
Please share.
You want- Well, it's actually a subject matter of today's executive session, actually, about the
wow.
playground. So I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
We're going to make you pretty happy. We've been
Okay,
looking,
great.
as we're nearing the completion of the baseball field right now, which should be done by June 1st.
Great.
I was approached by the school resource officer,
Yeah.
Drew Smith's wife, Bethany Smith, who's been very vocal in letting me know that a lot of the moms want to meet with us and maybe even form a committee
Yes,
and be
I had
able
that in the petition
to
about
speak
maybe.
with us and to the board directly as to what our plans are. So
Great.
I have spoken to several vendors. It's definitely something that is on the horizon. At least it was going to be this afternoon. So
Great.
we're working towards that.
Is there a potential for some type of like temporary solution? Because I know this, I had a mother share a letter, you know, sometimes this takes years. So is there some way that we can create some temporary solution for the summer when, you know, we're inundated with more and more people?
I could certainly look into that if there could be a temporary solution. The park's been progressing pretty quickly by itself because
Yeah.
it really is just, it's a town park, so to speak, but really the
Totally.
village has been funding all of it
Yeah.
based on the surplus or any additional funds we may have. So we've been outlaying that cost, but I can certainly look into that as to see if there could be anything temporary or
Yeah, I
specifically
think
to the
just
baby
like
swings.
something, like especially the swing sets, I know that the actual structures would have to be totally redone and
Yeah.
moved and whatever the plan is, but I think it honestly is the swings that are pushing people to go to other parks. So I think if there's a way to add something temporary so that people aren't spending the summer in Sag Harbor and that they're spending that time in East Hampton when there's so much new and fun things
Yeah.
in the village, I think it'd be worth, it'd be a benefit for everyone.
Okay. Do you have a comment? Yeah, go ahead, Mayor.
You know, I really thank you for all your hard work on this.
Sure.
I mean, I know this is not easy
Yeah.
to do, and I really appreciate it because we really need that input to, like, I never realized the swings were such a priority, you know?
Yeah.
So now that we know that, let the village administrator look into it some more, and let's see if we can get something done for the summer,
That'd be awesome.
short term, and then, you know, we're going to be setting up a committee.
I'd love to be a part of it, and I'm sure
I was just going
Alex
to ask
would
you,
too. Yeah.
just going to ask you if you'd like to be part of that, because I think it's important to get, you know, young moms' perspective on what might be great in the park, so.
Definitely. And I
That'd be
think there
great.
are some other mothers, I've included some letters and comments, and there's a few that may also want to be a part of it. So I didn't include my contact info, but
Do you have, or can we get your?
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say, I didn't
it's
see it on here.
Jenna Van Asco.
You don't want to put your phone number
Oh, yeah, maybe not on that.
I'll just apply to the clerk
Afterwards,
afterwards.
yeah, let me
Yeah, I
know.
forgot this is on TV.
We can, but we can, let's speak next week.
Okay,
Let's
that
see what we
sounds
can get going
fantastic.
for the summer. That's
Thank you
fine.
so much for being so open to the feedback.
No,
and
no,
I,
we really appreciate, that's a lot of work, thank you.
we're just so excited about everything that's happening at the park, and it's such a shame to have the playground be a little bit of an
I remember
afterthought.
those swings.
Yeah.
They were lifesavers for me.
Yeah, they really are.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to say anything quickly, if that's okay.
Hi, good morning. Excuse my appearance, busy mom too. Good morning to trustees. I own a store in town in the village. My family house owns a home on McGurk. I live on Osborne. I'm a full-time resident, and I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so we live in those swings. I have so many pictures of my kids and my older son in like where the swings used to be. I know Bethany from being on the swings with her kids. And it really has like affected us so greatly. I would say because we live on Osborne, I walk to town 2 to 3 times a day, and the mental health like aspect of being a young mom with like, you know, trapped at home with your kids all day some days, it's really affected us. And my younger daughter, who's 1, had to wait 30 minutes to get on a swing the other day on an off-season Tuesday. So I just want to echo, I've been feeling this way for a while. Jenna has spearheaded this, which I'm very thankful for. And I just want to stress the importance of getting something like a temporary fix soon, because I know, you know, we all know how busy it gets, and the flip is going to switch next week, and it's really going to become even more crowded. And also to stress, I do own a business in town, but aside from that, you go past the park at 9 a.m. on a Saturday or on a Tuesday morning. That's where the moms are going for their sanity and to get the kids out of the house. So it really is important for the whole family, for our community. So I thank you for anything you can do to quickly get a swing fix
Did
there.
you state your name for the record? Just
Sorry, I'm Alex Magruder.
No, that's fine, just for the record.
Yeah, we have to
Okay.
do minutes, and then we have
Perfect.
to have
Yes.
everybody's
Yeah.
speakers there.
Apologies
So.
about that.
No, no
But
worries.
thank
no worries.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? No? All right, so we're going to move into motions, resolutions.
Resolution number 327 of 2024, approve claim vouchers for the month of May.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved.
Number 328, approve warrants as listed. Number 49, guarantees. Number 50 and 51, general fund. Number 52, general fund warrant. Number 53, capital fund.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution's approved.
Number 329, approve budget transfer, schedule number 7, reference number 7, dated May 2024.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution's approved.
Number 330, approve minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting held on January 19th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 331, approve departmental reports.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 332, resolve the 2023-24 village budget is hereby amended to increase appropriations from the undesignated fund balance in the amount of $58,902 for expenditures related to the Herrick Park basketball courts.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 333, resolve the 2023-24 village budget is hereby amended to increase appropriations in the amount of $476,000 for expenditures funded by the Capital Reserve Fund as per permissive referendum.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 334, approve the transfer of $479,043 from the general fund to the fire department length of service program.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 335, deem surplus and of no value and approve disposal of one personal watercraft, village property tag number 1708.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 336, deem surplus and of no value and approve disposal of one impound vehicle, 2008 Jeep, CC number 2023-2954.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 337, deem surplus and decommission 2014 Ford Taurus, East Hampton Village ID number 2138, VIN ending 155129, and a second 2014 Ford Taurus, East Hampton Village ID number 2139, VIN ending 155130.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 338, deem as surplus and approve the sale online by Auctions International of assorted equipment, parts, and miscellaneous listed in Dave Collins' April 20th, 2024 memo.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 339, approve the professional services contract for the joint fuel facility at 258 Springs Fireplace Road in East Hampton between the Town of East Hampton, the Village of East Hampton, and L.K. McLean Associates, P.C., for professional engineering services related to the replacement of the fuel management system.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 340, approve the $25,185 change order 27.1 proposal received from Larimore Associates Incorporated for property tracking barcode integration software.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 341, approve the $27,029.35 quote from Whitmore's for the restoration and new installation of irrigation zones and installation of new water pipes in Herrick Park.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 342, approve request to enter into paving agreement with National Grid, receiving a payment of $312.50 for the restoration by our contractor for work on Middle Lane.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 343, approve employment of Douglas Pitches as part-time employee at Department of Public Works at $35 hourly, effective May 15th of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 344, approve employment of 2024 seasonal part-time paramedics and EMTBs as listed in the attached memo, effective May 13th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 345, approve amendment to Resolution 297, 2024, to indicate Dominique Guida to be hired as a part-time hourly employee with the village's EMT paramedic program at the hourly rate of $38, effective retroactively to April 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 346, approve employment of 2024 seasonal beach employees as listed, effective May 18th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Second. Aye. Sorry.
Passed and carried.
It's too many.
Resolution number 347, approve employment of James Summer as a 2024 seasonal part-time constable, effective May 18th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 348, approve employment of George Gutierrez as a 2024 seasonal part-time traffic control specialist, effective May 18th of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 349, approve new fire department member Luis Morales, Hook and Ladder Company Number 1.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution number 350, accept $19,462 bid from Carter Mellons Incorporated for wallpaper services at the public meeting room at the Emergency Services Building, 1 Cedar Street, as per bid specifications.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 351, approve rejection of all bids received for the new fence installation at the Emergency Services Building at 1 Cedar Street due to the unbalanced nature of amounts.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 352, approve rejection of single bid received for the Dutch Elm Treatment Program.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 353, notice to bidders for new fence installation at the Emergency Services Building at 1 Cedar Street with the bid opening to be held June 11th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at Village Hall.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 354, notice to bidders for 2-year Dutch Elm Disease Treatment Program with the bid opening to be held June 11th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at Village Hall.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution number 355, notice to bidders for the below-listed public works contracts with bid opening to be June 4th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at Village Hall.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 356, notice a public hearing to be held on May 17th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at LTV Studios, 75 Industrial Road, Wayne-Scott, for introductory number 17 of 2024, a proposed local law amending Village of East Hampton Code, Chapter 267-9, vehicles and traffic, stop streets, to add a four-way stop at the intersection of Cove Hollow Road and Jericho Road.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 357, notice a public hearing to be held on May 17th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at LTV Studios for introductory number 18 of 2024, a proposed local law amending Village of East Hampton Code, Chapter 267-7, vehicles and traffic, stop streets, to include a time limit of 1 hour for parking spaces on Fresno, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
You have to change that. Just correct
Okay, I want to correct resolution number 356, notice of public hearing to be held on June 15th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at LTV Studios for introductory number 17 of 2024, proposed local law amending Village of East Hampton Code, Chapter 267-9, vehicles and traffic, stop streets, to add a four-way stop at the intersection of Cove Hollow Road and Jericho Road.
So moved.
Yeah, they're all wrong. Yeah.
Do we vote on it again?
Yeah.
Is that the next public hearing?
Just need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
What's wrong with the first
it's the typo on the,
It's just the date.
We're just confirming that June 15th is the.
yeah. Can we just,
It's June 21st.
It's the 21st.
21st?
Yes.
So resolution number 356 is notice of public hearing for intro number 17 will be June 21st. Resolution number 357, correction, notice of public hearing to be held June 21st, 11 a.m., LTV Studios for introductory number 18 of 2024, amending Village of East Hampton Code, Chapter 267-7, Vehicles and Traffic, to include a time limit of 1 hour for parking spaces on Fresno, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution number 358 of 2024, notice of public hearing to be held on June 21st at 11 a.m. at LTV Studios for introductory number 19, 2024, proposed local law amending Village of East Hampton Code, Chapter 267, Article 3, operation of vehicles on sidewalks and parking lots.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 359, adopt a negative secret declaration with respect to introductory number 13 of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution number 360, adopt local law of 2024, introductory number 13 of 2024, proposed local law amending Chapter 176, Historic Areas Preservation of.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Unanimous, passed and carried.
Resolution number 361, approve publishing of notice setting forth a polling place, hours during which polls are open, names and addresses of candidates, offices, and terms.
So moved.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 362, deem surplus and of no value and approve disposal of assorted articles of firefighter personal protective equipment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 363, approve extension of bid opening for the Northwest Fire Substation overhead door modification with the bid opening to be June 25th, 2024 at 2 p.m. at Village Hall.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 364, approve the 10-year cable franchise agreement with Cablevision Systems, East Hampton Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Mayor, I would like to thank Samantha Partle of Altice and Frank Aliv, as you met him yesterday with us, all together at their event. It was a fabulous event, and they are a terrific partner for the village. I just want the board to know that. And if you haven't noticed, though, to the back of the room, you'll see the former fire chief, Kenny Westberg Jr. The current mayor, is that what it is? Commissioner. And what's the village again? Mickanoe. I can never pronounce it. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that the former chief is in the house.
How are they getting along without you? All right, so
Good to
we're
see
going
you,
to take a motion to close this hearing, and we're going to move into executive session back at Village Hall.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.